Yesterday morning, on Pi Day, March 14th, 2026, a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket punched through a cloudy Florida sky at 8:37 a.m. like a needle through fabric and delivered another 29 satellites to orbit. But here's what nobody in mainstream media is connecting. That routine-looking launch is just the tip of the iceberg of the most explosive period in space history, ever. Because while that rocket was climbing to orbit at a secret test site in Texas, the most powerful rocket ever built was undergoing its final preparations for the biggest test flight of 2026. At the FCC in Washington, a filing was sitting in a pile, a request to launch 1 million satellites into orbit to power artificial intelligence. And in Florida, 4 astronauts were counting down to a journey that no human has attempted in over 50 years. I'm Kim. You found the right channel. Stay locked in, because by the end of this video, you are going to understand the full, incredible picture of what SpaceX is doing right now, what's coming in the next 30 days, and why it matters for every single person on this planet. Let's start with the Pi Day launch, because the details of what happened on Saturday morning are genuinely remarkable. On March 14th, 2026, Pi Day, named after the mathematical constant 3.14159, SpaceX launched its Starlink 10-48 mission from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. Liftoff happened at precisely 8:37 a.m. Eastern Time as the Falcon 9 headed northeast, threading its way between clouds. On board, 29 Starlink V2 mini-optimized satellites, the latest generation of broadband internet hardware bound for low Earth orbit. But the booster that carried them is worth talking about. Booster B-1095 flew for the 6th time on that mission. Let me put that in perspective. In the old days of rocketry, think the Apollo era, the space shuttle, rockets were used once and then thrown away. SpaceX has fundamentally changed that. This same booster had already launched 5 previous Starlink missions and was now flying again, like an airplane. After delivering its payload, B-1095 descended back through the atmosphere and landed, perfectly, on the drone ship. Just read the instructions. Positioned in the Atlantic Ocean. That was the 153rd landing on that specific drone ship. And across all of SpaceX's operations, it marked the 584th booster landing in company history. Source, Spaceflight Now. And just the day before, on March 13th, SpaceX launched another 25 Starlink satellites from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. 2 launches, back-to-back days, on opposite coasts of the United States. Now let's zoom out to the big picture of 2026's launch cadence, because these numbers are extraordinary. SpaceX has already completed 32 launches in 2026 as of March 15th. By March 3rd, they had already launched their 600th Starlink satellite of the year alone, and 2026 is barely more than 2 months old at that point. By March 9th, they completed their 30th mission of the year with the launch of an EchoStar direct television satellite. As of March 14th, 2026, rockets from the Falcon 9 family have been launched a total of 625 times in the rocket's entire history, with 622 full mission successes. Source, Wikipedia, Spaceflight. Now, in 2025, SpaceX launched 167 times, a world record for any rocket company in history. They are now on pace to shatter that record in 2026. Let that sink in. No other country, not China, not Russia, not the European Space Agency, comes close to this launch pace. SpaceX alone is launching more rockets than all other launch providers on Earth combined. Now let's talk about what's coming, because the next 30 days in space history might be the most packed calendar since the space race of the 1960s. March 17th, 2026, this Monday. SpaceX is targeting a 6:26 a.m. launch of another Falcon 9 carrying the Starlink Group 1046 mission from Florida's Space Coast. That's in 2 days. If you're anywhere near Brevard County, Florida, or anywhere along the Northeast Corridor, set your alarm. Source, Florida's Space Coast, March 18th. Another Starlink mission from Cape Canaveral's SLC-40. March 20th, another Starlink launch from Vandenberg Air Force Base in California. That's 3 launches in the next 6 days. This is the new normal at SpaceX. Multiple launches per week, every week, all year long. But the 2 big dates you need to circle in red on your calendar are early April, because 2 missions, one from SpaceX and one from NASA, are set to define April 2026 as one of the most historic months in the history of human spaceflight. We'll get to both of those in a moment. But first, we need to talk about the story that dwarfs everything else happening in space right now. The story that could change the future of artificial intelligence, the internet, and human civilization itself. On February 2nd, 2026, just 6 weeks ago, something happened that should have been the biggest technology story of the decade. SpaceX, the most valuable private company in America, officially acquired xAI, Elon Musk's artificial intelligence company. The deal was valued at $1.25 trillion. Source: TechCrunch. Source: USA. Today, that means the company that builds your Falcon 9 rockets and Starlink satellites now also owns Grok, the AI model that competes directly with ChatGPT and Google Gemini. Rockets and AI, space infrastructure and machine intelligence, all under one roof. But why? What does Elon Musk actually plan to do with this combined entity? Here's where it gets science fiction, except it's completely, verifiably real. Shortly after the merger, SpaceX filed an application with the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, requesting permission to launch up to 1 million satellites into low Earth orbit. Not thousands, not tens of thousands. 1 million satellites. Source: Ars Technica. Source: BBC. But these would not be ordinary internet satellites like today's Starlink constellation. These would be orbital data centers, solar-powered computing platforms floating in space, designed to run artificial intelligence workloads. In an internal company meeting, Elon Musk told employees the math: launch 1 million tons of satellites per year, generate 100 kilowatts of computing power per ton, and you get 100 gigawatts of AI compute capacity. In orbit, around the planet, powered by the sun, unconstrained by the physical limitations of land, water, and electricity grids that restrict ground-based data centers. Source: Ars Technica. Think about what this means. The biggest bottleneck to the AI revolution right now is computing power. Building AI data centers on Earth requires massive amounts of land, billions of dollars in construction, years of permitting, and enormous power consumption that is straining electrical grids across the United States. AI companies are desperate for compute. SpaceX just proposed putting that compute in space. And this is not just a proposal. SpaceX has the rocket technology to actually do it. They already operate the world's largest satellite constellation. They already have the most powerful rocket ever built, Starship, capable of lifting massive payloads to orbit at dramatically lower costs per kilogram than anything that came before. Now, not everyone is celebrating this plan. Amazon, which operates its own satellite internet constellation called Project Kuiper, filed a 17-page objection to the FCC, urging the commission to deny SpaceX's application. Amazon's argument? That 1 million satellites from a single company would create congestion, collision risks, and an unfair monopoly in low Earth orbit. Source: PCM Mag. This is an extraordinary moment, when two of the world's wealthiest private companies are literally fighting over the right to dominate outer space. And the FCC, a government communications regulator that was never designed to referee a space race, is now in the middle of one of the biggest technology decisions of the 21st century. For everyday Americans, this story matters because the stakes are enormous. If SpaceX succeeds in building orbital AI data centers, it would give one company, owned by one person, control over the computing backbone of the artificial intelligence era. Whether you think that's visionary or terrifying probably depends on your perspective, but either way, it's happening. Now let's get to what might be the single most anticipated rocket event of 2026, Starship Flight 12. If you've been following SpaceX, you know Starship. It's the fully reusable two-stage launch vehicle that SpaceX has been testing at its Starbase facility in Boca Chica, Texas. It stands 123 meters tall, about the height of a 40-story building. Its super-heavy booster produces more thrust than any rocket ever built in human history. More thrust than the Saturn V that sent humans to the moon. More thrust than the Space Shuttle. SpaceX originally planned to fly Starship for the first time in 2026 earlier in the year. But on March 7, 2026, Elon Musk announced on social media that Flight 12 is now targeted for early April, specifically around April 9th. Source: USA Today. And here's why this particular flight is so significant. It's not just another test. This is the debut of an entirely new generation of Starship hardware. Booster 19, the super heavy booster that will power Flight 12, is the first Block 3 booster. What does Block 3 mean? It means upgraded everything. And most importantly, Booster 19 is equipped with the Raptor 3 engine, SpaceX's most advanced rocket engine, more powerful and more efficient than anything they've flown before. On March 7, 2026, Booster 19 was rolled out to Pad 2 at Starbase, a second launch mount that SpaceX has been building to enable higher launch frequency for Starship. On March 10th, SpaceX conducted a full tanking test, loading liquid oxygen and liquid methane propellant into the booster, the first time liquid propellant had ever been loaded onto a vehicle at Pad 2. Source: NASAspaceflight.com. Since then, SpaceX has conducted multiple static fire tests of Booster 19's Raptor 3 engines. The testing has been going well, with the booster described as performing exceptionally during its initial pad testing campaign. What SpaceX wants to demonstrate on Flight 12, beyond just surviving the flight, is full and rapid reusability. The goal is to catch the Super Heavy booster back at the launch tower with the giant mechanical arms nicknamed Mechazilla. If they can catch and refly boosters within hours, the economics of space launch change forever, and if Raptor 3 delivers on its performance promises, Starship becomes significantly more capable, meaning it can carry more cargo to orbit, and eventually, more humans to the moon and beyond. Keep your eyes on early April. If the weather cooperates and the hardware is ready, you might be watching the most important rocket test in history sometime around April 9th, 2026. I want you to stop and think about this for a moment. The last time a human being left Earth's orbit was December 1972, over 50 years ago. On Apollo 17, astronauts Gene Cernan, Harrison Schmitt, and Ronald Evans flew to the moon. When Cernan stepped off the lunar surface, he became the last human to walk on the moon. That was in 1972. That is about to change. On April 1st, 2026, just 17 days from today, NASA is targeting the launch of Artemis II, the first crewed mission to fly in the vicinity of the moon since Apollo. A 6-day launch window opens on April 1st from Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Source: NPR. The crew of Artemis II consists of 4 astronauts: Commander Reed Wiseman, pilot Victor Glover, mission specialist Christina Koch, the first woman to fly a lunar mission, and Jeremy Hansen of the Canadian Space Agency, representing America's international partners. Source: NASA. They will fly aboard the Orion spacecraft, launched atop NASA's Space Launch System, the most powerful rocket NASA has built since the Saturn V of the Apollo era. The mission is a 10-day flight that will fly the crew around the moon and back, a free return trajectory similar to how Apollo 13 survived its emergency. This is not a moon landing. That comes with Artemis III, but it is the critical human test of the Orion spacecraft, the SLS rocket, and all the life support and navigation systems that will keep humans alive in deep space. It is fundamentally a shakedown cruise before humanity returns to the lunar surface. And here is the extraordinary thing about what NASA is doing in April 2026. Artemis II and Starship Flight 12 could literally both happen in the same week. NASA's April 1st target and SpaceX's approximately April 9th target mean that in a single 10-day window, humanity could watch a crewed spacecraft head toward the moon for the first time since 1972 and watch the most powerful rocket ever built fly on its first Starship test of the year. I've been covering space for years. I cannot remember a stretch like the one coming in early April 2026. Let's bring this back to something that affects your daily life right now, and I mean right now. At MWC 2026, the world's largest mobile technology conference, SpaceX made Starlink Mobile officially commercial. This is the technology that turns every regular LTE smartphone into a satellite-connected device. No special phone, no special antenna, no app to download. Your existing iPhone or Android phone connected to space. Source: PC Mag. The way it works is elegant. SpaceX's V2 mini satellites have a specialized antenna that functions like a cell tower in space. When you're in a dead zone, in the mountains, in a remote rural area, in the middle of the ocean, and your phone would normally show 0 bars, Starlink's satellite overhead picks up your signal and routes it through the constellation. SpaceX is already targeting 150 megabits per second per user for its next-generation direct-to-cell service, faster than many people's home internet connections, delivered from space. Source: Teslarati. A second-generation Starlink mobile system is being planned for mid-2027. When that launches, the vision is simple and stunning. No dead zones anywhere on Earth. Every person, every phone, connected to the internet via satellites flying 300 miles above your head. For rural Americans who've been left behind by terrestrial internet infrastructure, for farmers in Kansas, for ranchers in Montana, for communities in Appalachia, this is not a luxury feature. This could be life-changing. Emergency services, telehealth, remote education, business connectivity, all made possible because SpaceX is building a network of satellites so dense it effectively becomes a blanket of internet coverage around the entire planet. One more story before we wrap up, and this one caught a lot of space fans by surprise. For years, Elon Musk's stated obsession has been Mars. Put humans on Mars, build a self-sustaining city on Mars, Make humanity a multiplanetary species. Mars, Mars, Mars. It's been the North Star of everything SpaceX does. So when Musk recently said that a 2026 Mars mission would be a distraction, and announced that SpaceX is now shifting focus to building a city on the moon first, it was a significant pivot. Source: Yahoo, MarketWatch. The reasoning makes strategic sense. Artemis is going back to the moon. NASA has contracted with SpaceX to provide a human landing system using Starship for crewed lunar landings. Building lunar infrastructure, landing pads, power systems, habitats is now the near-term priority. Mars can wait. The moon is happening now. This is actually good news for everyone because everything SpaceX learns from building on the moon makes the Mars mission better, safer, and more likely to succeed when it eventually does happen. Let me leave you with 3 things to take away from everything we've covered today. We are living through the golden age of space. More rockets are launching, more satellites are being deployed, and humanity is going back to the moon, all happening simultaneously in 2026. This is not a distant sci-fi future. This is right now. April 1st, Artemis the Setu. Mark your calendar and watch it live. Space and AI are merging. The SpaceX XAI merger is not just a business deal. It's a declaration that the future of artificial intelligence may be built not on Earth, but in orbit. Whether that's exciting or concerning is a conversation worth having. But it's a conversation we need to have now, before the satellites are already up there. Your phone is about to become a space terminal. Starlink Mobile is real, it's commercial, and it's getting faster and better every single year. The vision of universal, uninterrupted connectivity is closer than most people realize. The infrastructure for it is being launched, quite literally, right now, every 48 hours, from Cape Canaveral and Vandenberg. The space age is not something your grandparents experienced. It's happening right now, in 2026, today. If this video opened your eyes to what's happening in space right now, share it. The people in your life deserve to know that we are living through one of the most consequential periods in human history, and it's unfolding in real time. Hit that like button, subscribe for updates on every major launch and space story, and drop a comment below. Are you excited about humans going back to the moon, or are you more focused on Starship Flight 12 and the AI satellite constellation? I read every single comment. I'll see you for the Artemis II launch coverage. Don't miss it. All information in this video is sourced from publicly available reporting, including Spaceflight Now, Florida Today, NASA.gov, SpaceX.com, TechCrunch, USA Today, Ars Technica, PCMag, Reuters, BBC News, and NPR as of March 15, 2026. Launch dates and schedules are subject to change. This video is for informational purposes only. The creator is not affiliated with SpaceX, NASA, XAI, or any company mentioned. No financial advice is given or implied.